Ever go travel outside but your phone has no signal to doom scroll? Well, my friend, do I have an artsy suggestion for you. I will die on the hill that when we do have the opportunity to leave the house, we definitely should not be glued to our phones and actually be present and enjoy our surroundings. And in the spirit of keeping ourselves off of rectangular devices, I will be showing you my old watercolor travel kit. Now, I understand the idea of painting outside can be overwhelming, especially when considering how to transport your art supplies. So, I will show you the watercolor kit I have been using in the past, and then I will sketch out and paint an entire page as a demonstration. So, let's first backtrack and list what a travel watercolor set should include. That would be the watercolor, the mixing palette, container for the water, the brushes, the sketchbook, and a pen, pencil, and eraser. Easy to see how the entire setup can get quite clunky, but thanks to a ton of art companies being conscious about their consumers, we do have some pre-made travel kits on the market. So here is the Windsor and Newton Cotman travel kit. So this is the beginner set and not the super fancy version, which is way more expensive. Another thing to note is that I've had this particular kit for just around 7 years now. Anyways, I have been using this kit for a very long time. You can see some of my outdoor drawing with the paints here. And even now, after all of these years, this is a very solid travel set. So after we do a little show and tell of the kit itself, I will show you some old sketchbook pages and then create a brand new one using these paints. So let's first pull off the cap here, and then we'll open it up and voila! If you swing open the flaps here on the left side, you will see it's actually 2 mixing trays and then 12 watercolor paint that are in the half pan side. You can see I have used these quite a bit just from looking at the paints here. The right side is actually a container to store water, and the container also acts as a third mixing palette, making this very small kit super versatile. The cap can actually be used as a cup for water, and I learned recently that you can actually pin the cap onto the top of the left side here. We have the sponge up at the top for when your brush has too much water, and then the small thing here is actually a watercolor paintbrush. Very small, but it's actually quite decent. I do have another set of portable watercolor brushes that I will show right now. So just like the smaller brush, these ones also need to be pulled out and then reattached, and voila! The handle is a lot longer, and here are the brushes. I have them in 3 sizes to cover all of my painting needs. This brand is called a Fuumuui, but you can honestly get any brand off of Amazon. Given that I am traveling on the go, I'm not expecting to create watercolor masterpieces with high quality watercolor supplies. So that's about it with the tools of the trade here. I would like to show you guys some of my old sketchbook pages done with these exact materials. So here, my friend, is a Mossery Co cover, and inside is a watercolor insert. I've had this for a few years now, and it does work quite well for my purposes. If you're looking for a pure watercolor sketchbook and nothing more, these are perfect. However, if you're looking to make finalized watercolor masterpieces and maybe something you want to put up in the gallery, I would say maybe look for another brand with thicker paper. Now, if we do open up the sketchbook, we'll start with my sketches from a trip back in 2021. This was from a winter road trip, and where I'm from, it doesn't snow that much, but driving through a mountain during the winter had the most dramatic sight of snow falling that I just had to paint it in the sketchbook here. You can see I'm testing the colors off on the side, but look how vibrant these colors are. The bottom painting here is from Death Valley National Park, and the blue is just so mwah. We have another Death Valley sketch over here. I can see I was really working on my rock painting skills in the good year of 2021. I just remember that I did go camping on the trip as well, so there was a lot of downtime to sit down and paint something here and there. You can see I got a sky painting done, another painting done with the rock formation. I definitely did run out of time near the end, seeing those rush patterns on the rock, but the sky is once again very vibrant. And then we got some more gloomy sky paintings on the next page here. I know when artists are starting out, sometimes they feel the need to get a bigger watercolor set with a lot of colors, but if you understand the color wheel and what colors mix with what, you can really mix just about anything with a 12 color set. Now my friend, I will move on to trying out a different sketchbook setup using those same materials since it's been quite a few years since using these. My go-to travel sketchbook of choice these days is the Midori's Traveler's Notebook. Now I'll say these are honestly not the best surface for watercolor and there are way more watercolor sketchbook options out there. But I've had this notebook system for a very long time and their sketchbook insert surprisingly can handle watercolor wash quite well. I did buy this notebook around 8 years ago, so I do have a bit of sentimental attachment to it. So for the first page, we're going to test the colors and see how it looks on the paper. Initially, I did write the wrong colors, so that's why there's all the scribbles for my mistake. This pen here is a Pilot Metropolitan. It's the standard fountain pen, which is actually solid for the price. I bought this particular pen many years ago when it was a lot cheaper, and now I think it goes for around 30 USD. And then, I am trying out this brand new ink. My usual go-to fountain pen ink actually isn't waterproof and therefore not watercolor friendly, so this particular brand is known to take watercolors well. So then, we whip open this notebook here and open a fresh new insert. Now, if I'm trying out a brand new sketchbook, I do a little color sheet just to see how the colors turn out on the paper when it's dried, and voila! Each color is all accounted for, and then you can see that the ink and the paper both take watercolor very well. And now, it is time to take a stab and draw something on the next page. In hindsight, I probably should have used pencil to lay down the sketch underneath, but I just raw dogged it with a pen. The wonderful thing about human-made art is that each piece will have its own charm, even if the artist may think the final result is absolute trash. For me, the charm of the process is in the amount of mistakes I make and trying everything to try and cover it up. But I do think the joy of art really comes from allowing ourselves to not make perfect art. And here, we have the lines all drawn in. I do like putting in the logo or a title for some of my sketchbook pages. We all know this is a test page. Now, I do feel it's quite empty and there is a lot of dead space, so I'm hoping the watercolor washes can really fill in those gaps. Oh man. When I first started out with watercolors, I used to think that everything needed to be a very solid layer of colors like other painting medium, but over time I've learned that it's a lot more difficult to fix up a very dark layer of watercolor or paint over a previous layer. I've come to learn that watercolor is best done when you slowly build up the layers. So the first wash of color on this croissant here is very light. And the overall painting may look like a hot mess at first, but watercolors is one of those mediums where you really have to trust the process and see it to the end before making a judgment. So now I'm gradually adding a slightly darker layer of colors. Watercolors are such an unpredictable medium that your final results will not always be as you imagined it in your head, but it does leave a lot of room for different and exciting textures in the colors. Even the colors when the paper is wet may end up lighter after it's dried up. And we have a very messy pen sketch of the cup here. I'm hoping coloring can alleviate the messy white out job just a bit. Just looking at the latte art on the top of the matcha makes me want to take a break and run into a cafe right now. Adding more layers of the green just to give that really nice dimension. Already went ahead and did the same thing for the ube matcha latte on the right, and then added another layer of watercolors onto the croissant. At this point, almost all of the base colors are in, so it's just cruise control from here on out. I'm just gonna go back and forth and adding more washes of watercolors until the previous layers has dried out. You can also see that even though this is a Midori sketchbook insert that isn't dedicated for watercolor, it does take the paint and water quite well. There's no bleed through, and even with a generous amount of water, the buckling isn't as bad as it could have been. We're just adding more and more layers of watercolors now, and it's very self-explanatory, so that means it is time-lapse time. And so we have here our first completed watercolor sketch for this sketchbook. And to think this was done with a very old travel paint kit. I really love how it turned out despite the messy start with the inks, and I can't wait to go out and fill out more pages. My hope is that I can get a lot more use out of these from now on and rebuild a habit of bringing a sketchbook with watercolors on my adventures. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you all in the next one. Now keep drawing and wishing you all an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye!